Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're talking about two games here. Well, the same game, but there's two versions of it called Duos. Duos, this is Things and Animals, and this is Duos, Sports and Fairy Tales. They play the exact same way, there's just different themes for each of these. This is a game in which you are making matches, and everyone else is trying to copy you. Here's how it plays. So you're going to pick a deck of cards, and you're going to shuffle them and put them all on the same side. So here I'm using the animals and things set. So we're starting on the animal side, so we put out 12 random animals. Now you're going to orient them all the same way, and this is important because each player is going to orient this grid the same way. You'll see there's a sun and a moon on it, and that shows where the sun and the moon is. So let's say I'm sitting here on this side of the table, I would kind of put this here behind my shield in that direction, because then I know which of these squares corresponds to which of these. Each player is going to get cubes. There's 4 different colors, and you're going to get a pair of each color. So 2 blacks, 2 pink, 2 yellow, 2 whites. And one person is the narrator, and they're going to sit around and they're going to pick the pairs that they think match together. They might pick any 2 things. So they might say, this has a lot of fur, this has a lot of fur. So that's a pair I'm picking. And they're going to put the same cubes in the same pairs. It doesn't matter which cube goes where. And so as they do that, everyone else is trying to pick what they think the narrator will also pick. So for example, you're watching this. Why don't you try to figure out which ones would be paired together, which ones I would do, Tom Vasel would do. And so once everyone's done with that, then everyone's going to, look at the board, and the narrator's going to put their cubes out. So this is what I would do, for example. I would put 2 here because they're both insects and they're facing the same way, cutting this insect out. I would put 1 here on the horse and the donkey because they're similar animals in my mind. I also put 1 here on these 2 because they're large aquatic creatures. And then I put a pair on these because they're small aquatic creatures. Then each player is going to reveal their board. So let's say this is the next person to me, Marilyn. So she has this board here. So she matched this pair and this pair, but the other ones aren't correct. She thought I would pick this insect and this insect because they're similar insects. And she thought that I was going to pick the cow and the elephant. I didn't do that. So she got 2 pairs. Each pair that you guess correctly as a guesser is going to give you a point. The narrator is going to get points based on how many you got. So if you get 0 pairs, the narrator gets nothing. If you get 2 to 3 pairs, which she did, then me, the narrator, would get 1 point. And if you get all 4 correctly, the narrator gets 2. So the narrator has the possibility of getting the most points. Everyone else has a possibility of getting 4 points. So then you're just going to go around the table. But to set up for the next round, you'll take all the cubes back, and then you flip all the cards over to the other category, which in this case is objects. And then you'll play another round. Once this round is over, you'll then wipe the cards, and you'll just put out 12 more. And so you just go back and forth. So you're going to do this and go around the table and just keep playing. And after everyone's been a narrator twice, which means everyone's been a narrator for both sides. So you've been a narrator for the animals, and you've been a narrator for objects, or sports and fairy tales for the other one. Then whoever has the most points is the winner. The game kind of lives and dies on the art on these cards. And I think the strongest set is the object set, because it's the most varied. The second strongest set is the fantasy set. I like that one a lot. Then the animals, because there's just not as much correlation necessarily between animals, I found. And everyone that I played with, they found the weakest set to be sports. Mostly because a lot of sports cards would show these people like this. And we found that to be, I don't know, a lot of them look similar. Now, I would not mind if you could mix up the sets, have 6 from one side, 6 from the other side. I think that might be interesting, but it also could lead to some problems with things maybe being too easily put together. These are both sports, these are both animals, so there is that to some degree. But the cards are decent quality. Each player has these boards. You have a shield that you'll put behind your thing, and the shields are okay. You just have to not look at what everyone else is doing. And then the cubes are fine. I mean, they're just cubes. And then there's a bunch of point tokens that players can score. The game actually comes with a little box for the cubes and a little box for the points. I don't think these are particularly necessary, but hey, it's something you can do. I guess it's better than plastic bags. This concept is not particularly new of making matches. I've played other party games that have done the same thing. And in fact, I think one of the weaknesses of this game is the actual art. I would have preferred that the cards have more on them. Now, they deliberately have these cards drawn in black and white, and I suspect that is because then you can't use color as a match. But because you can't use color as a match, there's not as many things. We found, like I said, some of the categories to be very fruitful, like this knight is riding a horse and this guy has a sword and they're both attacking is it. And there's a lot of fun in that aspect of the game. And that kind of paled out a little bit in the sports category, but it's still there. And that's the reason I'm giving this game a 7. I wish the cards were better in a sense that they were more full and had more things on them. But the gameplay itself is really fun, because everybody is sitting there and everyone is yelling and saying, I can't believe you picked those pairs. I can't believe you combined that. And it's the reveal phase that's fun. Everyone's sitting there going, how do I match these pairs? How do I do this? I'm trying to match, Sally. How does she do this? And so you have these thoughts running through your mind and you pick the pairs. And sometimes you had the right idea, but the wrong pair. Like in that example I showed, there was 3 insects on that board, and I was like, well, these 2 because they're flying the same way, but someone else might have said these 2 because these 2 are insects that you kill. The third one is a good insect that you want to leave alive. I don't know. But the person who's the narrator is supposed to explain why they picked what they did, and then everyone groans and says, how could you possibly put those 2 things together? And when that happens, I really think the fun of the gameplay comes out, because that is an entertaining thing to see. So that's, again, I don't think you need to own both of these unless for some reason you want the category. So pick the one that you think would match your feelings the best. But this is a really easy game to teach. Each of these goes up to 6 players, which is a good number of people to have around the table. It's fun to observe. You're playing every round because one person is narrating, everyone else is guessing. And the points matter, because there is a winner at the end of the game, but they don't matter that strongly. It's more, I think this game is more about the experience necessarily. So check it out. So that's Duos. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time.